Good day, PNU1. Hello, I am Richard P. Monteverde from the Office of the Student Affairs and Student Services, and I'm here to talk about how to manage distress and to regulate our emotions. ECQ Again edition. Okay, so let's start with the concerns that we have right now, no, na ECQ ulit. Of course, limited yung living, laughing natin, no? And even loving, no? Some of you, syempre loving yung merong person by their side or malapit sila dun sa significant other pero limited na rin ngayon so bawal lumabas. Then laughing, no? How can we laugh na tumataas ang COVID patients ngayon? No? Pataas ang pataas every day. And how can we live also, no? Even though na it's been a year, still we are adjusting to this kind of normal. So talagang marami ang natitrigger sa mga events ngayon. So maaring iba nagsasabi pa, no? Ano bang ginagawa ng government? No, meron bang ginagawang initiatives, no? At yung mga tao ba ay nabibigyan ng karampatang help, no, o tulong, no, na kinakailangan nila. So nandito ako ngayon bilang counselor para magbigay ng konting mga strategies, no, and techniques on how we can manage our emotions and how we can tolerate the stress that we are experiencing. So sige, simulan natin sa una, yung distress tolerance. Ano ba yung distress tolerance, no? It's about accepting, finding meaning for, and tolerating distress. It's also a non-evaluative and non-judgmental perspective of ourselves to ourselves and the current situation. So, nakafocus tayo doon sa situation and not with what we think about it. Yan. We tolerate, no, and survive crisis with accepting life as it is in the moment. So, ito na ngayon yung binigay sa atin. Ito na yung current situation natin. So what do we want to do now? And it involves distraction, self-soothing, improving the moment. So I'd like to highlight that distress tolerance is more specific with how we can improve our moment, no, our experience in the here and now because we are in the here and now. So what can we do? And eventually thinking about the pros and cons. So yan ang distress tolerance. So ano mga techniques under distress tolerance? Okay, so we have the strategy distress tolerance and then the techniques. 1, radical acceptance. Then 2, self-soothe with senses. And then 3, distraction through accepts. So simulan natin sa radical acceptance. Ano ba ang radical acceptance? So from the word radical, no? Hindi regular, okay? Hindi siya normal, okay? Not even liberal, no? So talagang a different way of thinking on the situation, no? But on the other hand, it's a healthier way of thinking, especially when it comes to situations that are out of control. It's also our ability to accept the problem as it is, no? Especially those that we don't have control entirely, such as COVID, no? And because we accept the problems as they are, no, it will lead to less anxiety, anger, sadness, and stress. So kung matututunan nating i-accept. So paano ba ang radical acceptance? So ito yung situation, typical thinking and radical acceptance. So paano yung situation? So ito, ECQ again. So limited na naman ang interactions, no, kahit pagpunta sa grocery in even mall. So essential services uli in even work, no? Wala na rin, no? Parang naputol for 2 weeks, 1 week to 2 weeks. So talagang magiging distressful, no? Or stressful rather, ito doon sa mga nakaka-experience. So, situation yon. Typical thinking, oh my God, OMG, ang dami na namang COVID cases. So, ito nakafocus sa COVID cases. Ang hirap na naman lumabas, walang kwenta presidente, wala nang pag-asa. So, that's the typical thinking. So, I'm not saying that it's invalid or valid, but it's the typical thinking of an individual. Now, we go to radical acceptance. So, ito na ang ECQ. Kailangan ko ng mas maging mag-ingat at mas magpag-igihan ang pagsunod sa protocol. So, mas mag-ingat at mas pag-igihan ang pagsunod sa protocols. Yun yung radical acceptance. Pwede rin na ito na, nawala na ako ng trabaho, ano pa bang pwede kong gawin para magkaroon ako ng simpleng pamumuhay, para meron akong pera, no, para may panggasto sa aking pamilya. So, ano bang mga pwedeng paraan? So, doon na tayo nagkakaroon ng alternative thinking about the situation because in every situation, no, kung negative yung usually na nakikita natin, meron siyang opportunity din. Meron din siyang positive. At yun yung pino-point out ng radical acceptance. Hindi niya sinasabi na kailangan na lang natin tanggapin. No, not necessarily. Ang sinasabi niya, kailangan nating tanggapin ang sitwasyon at pag-isipan din ano yung mga pwede nating gawin pa. Kasi nandito na ang sitwasyon, ano pa ang pwede nating gawin? Ano na lang ang pwede nating gawin? Now, yung another technique is what we call self-soothe with senses. So, ito yon. So, for example, no, you're very triggered no, sa news na nabasa mo, dun sa pagtaas ng COVID patients, no, or victims, o kaya naman yung mga pagkakaroon ng mga granular lockdown. So ito yung pwede natin gawin, no? Minsan triggered tayo. So subukan natin. Halimbawa, vision. You try to go for a walk somewhere nice and pay attention to the sight. So of course, ECQ, kailangan natin i-observe muna yung mga protocols, no? Kailangan magsuot pa rin ng face mask, face shield, magdala ng alcohol, at syempre, iwas din sa mga matataong lugar. So, walk somewhere, even kahit sa loob ng bahay ninyo lang, no? O kaya naman, kung meron kayong mga videos na access sa YouTube or Facebook, no? Mga lugar na kung gusto ninyong puntahan or pangarap ninyo, pwede kayong tumingin ng mga video. So, ang point dito, magkaroon kayo ng something about your vision. The following is about hearing. So, as you see something, you also need to listen to something enjoyable such as music or nature. So pwede kayo mag-Spotify playlist, no? Or kung meron kayong sariling playlist, it's okay. Yan. So ang point dito, meron kayong something for the hearing. The next is touch. Effective yung warm bath or massage. So again, ito, syempre ECQ, sarado rin yung mga massage parlors, alam ko. So medyo impossible. So how about warm bath? Yan. So mainit, no? Na pagligo, 'yon. Ang importante dito, no, meron tayo naman for touch. How about taste? Have a small treat. Especially yung mga masasarap, matatamis, no? So yung mga granola bar, chocolate, no, or even candy. Yan. So when you're very stressed to try to eat some candy or chocolate, yon. Then last is about smell. So find some flowers or spray, a perfume or cologne that you like. So yan. So self-soothe with senses. So isa-isa bawat sense natin, okay? Para magkaroon tayo ng soothing state. Yan. Ano ang point nito? Why we need to self-soothe? The logic here is that it will bring us in the moment. So if we see something, if we hear something, if we feel something, taste something, or smell something, no, nafo-focus doon yung ating sensation. At once we have focus on that specific sensation, then we can be able to be in the moment, no, be one with the moment, and once we become part of the moment, then that's the time that we can think of the alternative things on what we can do in order to address our situation. And then of course, last but not the least is about the accepts. So ano ba yung accepts? So it's an acronym. So ang stand ng accepts is that negative feelings will usually pass or at least lessen in intensity over time. It can be valuable to distract yourself until emotions subside. So ito yung point ng accepts. So distract muna natin sarili until our intense emotions subside. So accept serves as a reminder. Let's start with letter A. Ano yung A? Activities. We have to engage ourselves to activities that require thought or concentration. So this could be a hobby, project, work, or school. Yan. So ano yung activity na na-enjoy natin gawin? Yan. So pwede natin gawin pag-igihan yan, no? Pwede natin pag-focusan yan. So kahit mga 15 minutes to 30 minutes per day. So what is that one thing that you want to do? No, kunyari, cooking. So it releases your flow. And once you're in the flow, no, your dopamine, serotonin are stimulated and affecting uh, how you respond to situations, no? How you manage to have positive outlook, no? Because these are happy hormones. So, nasa-stimulate. So, once na na-stimulate to, dahil nga nag-enjoy ka sa activity na yon, kapag-concentrate ka, yan, nasa-stimulate ang happy hormones, and in turn, no, mas napuput ka niya doon sa moment, yan, mas na-manage niya yung emotions, negative emotions. Yan. Kaya once na na-manage niya yun, mas nakakapag-focus ka din sa kung ano yung pwede mong gawin doon sa iyong concern. So that's activities. Next is contributing. So try to focus on someone or something other than yourself. So try to volunteer, do a good deed, or do anything else that will contribute to a cause or a person. So this is very important. So pag-contribute daw natin, pag-help sa ibang individuals can also help, no? In our way of life and how we also see ourselves. So by means of helping others, so alam natin maraming nawawalan ng trabaho. Ayan na naman ang ating mga frontliners, no? So yung mga pagpapadala halimbawa lang ng mga pagkain sa frontliners, o kaya naman yung tamang pagbibigay lang natin ng impormasyon sa mga kanya-kanya ninyong estudyante, o kaya naman kapamilya, no? Nung information about COVID or ano ba yung mga nilalabas ng DOH or IATF, yung pag-share lang yun ng mga yon, no? It can help somebody. It's contributing to a cause or a person. So that's contributing. Another is comparison. So look at your situation in comparison to something worse. So remember the time that you were more in pain or when someone else was going through something difficult. So let's focus on your experience. So remember that one day that you had something bad, uh, or something worse. Okay? And then remember, what have you done in order for you to be able to move forward? Yan. So it's more focused on your insights or learning from the situation. So use those learning in order for you, no, to manage your current situation. So that's comparison. Then another is emotion. So do something that will create a competing emotion. So if you feel sad, watch a funny movie. If you feel nervous, listen to soothing music. Yan. So kung ano yung opposite, yun yung gagawin natin for the emotions. And last is, second to the last, technically, pushing away. No? So do away with negative thoughts by pushing them out of your mind. So imagine writing your problem on a piece of paper, crumbling it up, or throwing it away. Refuse to think about it until a better time. So these can be applied to the things that we are still not yet ready to face. So pwede niyo sulat sa papel, tago muna sa cabinet. O kaya naman pwede niyo lukutin tapos itapon ninyo. Parang it's a symbolism that you are letting go of the problems or the things that you don't have control at. Yan. So pwede nyo itapon na o pwedeng meron kayong ceremonial na susunugin ninyo. Yan. So may kandila, susunugin yung papel. Yan. So it's also a symbolism that by means of tawag dito, yung pagsusunog nga natin ay nakakatulong doon sa pagproseso natin ng ating nararamdaman. So, sir, paano ba yun? Is it also about doon sa pagtakas namin doon sa problema? No. Because you cannot still handle that as of the moment. So, yun lang yung way natin para ma-symbolize yung pagluwag ng ating mind doon sa mga problems or concerns na iniisip natin. So, yun. So, pwede naman ninyo sulat lang, tabi ninyo sa cabinet, and then until a better time, so pwede nyo namang i-read. Yan. So, yun yung pushing away. So, there's a deliberate or conscious effort to do this. Yan. And then, about thoughts, no? We try to focus on our thoughts, count 1 to 10, then recite a poem, in your head or read a book. So ito, kunyari yung mga Bible verses or mga favorite poem ninyo, yan. So yun yung i-recite ninyo kapag kayo ay natatakot, kayo ay nagsistress. Yan. Yung iba naman gumagawa ng mga mantra. Yung sinasabi nila kapag na-stress sila, ang galing-galing ko pa rin, kaya ko to, kaya ko to. Yan, habang nagka-count sila ng 10. Yan, thoughts. Then we also have sensation. So try to find a safe physical sensation to distract you from intense negative emotions. So wear a rubber band, snap it on your wrist, or hold an ice cube in your hand, or eat something sour like lemon. So dito, kunyari, so may mga negative thoughts ka, no? So merong rubber band, then i-snap mo yon kapag nag-iisip ka ng mga bagay na out of control na. So yan, so may conscious or deliberate effort. Or eat or drinking yung sour juice ng lemon. Yan. So yun yung mga sensations na pwede ninyong gawin. Yan. So yun po yung tinatawag nating accepts. Yan. So those are some of the practices for distress tolerance. So once we have tolerated the distress, the next thing that we need to focus on is how we can regulate the emotion. So what is regulating emotions or emotional regulation? So here, it comes from the idea that emotions occur in response to a trigger event. So halimbawa, nung na-trigger tayo doon sa mga napapanood natin, no? Could be a sight, sound, a smell, a thought, or it can be anything. The next, you have thoughts about trigger, and those thoughts cause an emotion to occur. So yung trigger na yon nagkakause ng emotions, at yung emotions na yon ay nag-activate na for you to take an action. So either sumigaw ka, saktan mo sarili mo, saktan mo ibang tao, etc. Or even yung stress eating, no? So mas galit sila, mas malakas kumain. So we need to manage our emotions because we tend to develop negative coping mechanisms if we continue, no, to be triggered just like that, no, by certain events. So how do we can manage, no? But before that, no, with regard to emotions, we have 6 basic ones. So we have fear, sorrow, joy, interest, guilt, shame, no, and disgust. Emotions are signals that help us develop healthy relationships with others. And emotions are natural and normal. They are biologically wired and we need them in order to survive. So always remember that na hindi porke emotionally reactive ka, you're not mature or you're not using your mind properly. No, that's not the thing here. It's just that we sometimes tend to deny that emotions are real. We shrug them off, and that's the reason why sometimes the symptoms become pervasive. So what can we do? We need to accept that these emotions, regardless of their type, no, regardless how awful they are natural and normal. We need them in order for us to survive. Yan. Because if we don't feel fear, then we cannot really set actions on how we can prevent some threats, no? So yung anxiety natin nakakatulong din somehow sa atin, no? O kaya naman yung interest. So hindi naman ibig sabihin na sobrang interesado ka sa isang bagay, no? Nagiging pakialamero ka. No. It's also a way for the person to preserve himself or herself. So it's self-preservation. Yan. At the same time, guilt or shame, then we will not have a tendency to think about our actions that might have negative repercussions to others. Yun. So these are important. So ang point lang dito sa emotional regulation is how we can manage it. So we have 3 techniques. Okay, we have stop, opposite action, and ABC, please. So subukan natin yung stop. So stop. Simulan natin dun sa don't react. So when you feel that your emotions seem to be in control, stop. Okay? So do not react. Just freeze. Ayan. And then it will help prevent you from doing what your emotions want you to do. So if you're overwhelmed, if it is okay not to react, to close your eyes, to inhale, and then exhale. Ayan, slowly. until your emotions subside, until you have um frozen in that very moment. Not necessarily frozen that you are frozen na kailangan na ng clinician, not necessarily. Frozen meaning to say that you tend to stop for a while. And then after which, you stay in control. Always remember that you are the boss of your emotions. Name the emotion and label it. So once you have stopped, okay, and inhaled and exhaled, you have to think of what am I feeling? Is this disgust or shame? Is this interest? Is this guilt? Okay. Is this happiness? Am I happy? Am I scared? Yan. So name the emotion. Once you have named it, you have to take a step back. Take a deep breath again as long as you need. So usually, ang process natin is 5, no? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, inhale, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, exhale. So depende kung gusto nyo mas mahaba, no? 1 to 10, no? Then 10 to 1, yan, inhale and exhale. As long as you need, no? Yun ang take a step back. Then after which, yan, after we have taken a step back, we have to observe. Listen to what is happening around you. We have to listen. Okay? Um, so nagagalit ako dahil ano ang nangyari? Ano ang sinasabi ng mga tao sa paligid ko? Bakit sila nagkakagulo? Or ako lang ba ang nagugulo? Yan. Also listen to automatic thoughts. So maaring sabi mo, naku, kailangan ko nang mag-prepare. Baka wala kaming mabili sa grocery at mag-panic buying ng mga tao. No? Dahil tumataas ang COVID at ECQ na naman. So observe those thoughts. So remember, these are automatic negative thoughts. These are needed because these are for self-preservation. However, we need to regulate it because not all the time that these thoughts are practical. So these thoughts tend to debilitate our functioning. So we need to take it as a means to go back again to what is happening. So, yun yung nangyayari. Nagkakagulo sila. Wait, wait. Parang hindi yata okay. Nagkakagulo. Talaga ba mauubusan ako? Eh, isang taon na mahigit ang nagka-COVID. So, wala namang naubusan at na-regulate din ang mga produkto. Yan. Or automatic ba mahawa ko paglabas ko? With all my protection, with all my gears. Yan. So mga ganyan, no? So iisipin mo yon. You will observe. Then, next is proceed mindfully. Ayan na. Dito na ngayon yung wisdom event. No? You ask yourself, what do you want from this situation? What are your goals? Or what choice might make the situation better or worse? Or what act will allow for success? So, what act will allow for success? So, I need to schedule our grocery. I need to also check on the possibilities. Ano bang pwedeng alternative kong trabaho kung wala ako maging trabaho for 2 weeks? Yun, ano ba ang pwedeng puntahan ko? No, kung ako ay na-lay off, no, pwede ba akong kumontak sa DOLE? Yan, or sa dating kumpanya ko, saan ba ako pwede magpatulong? No? O kaya naman, no, iisipin ko na kung ECQ na naman, so may extend na naman yung mga submissions ko sa school. So, kung may extend man ito, better. Pero kung hindi may extend, paano na? Anong gagawin ko? So, yun. So, what will allow your allow for success? And what choices might make the situation better or worse? Yun. So iisipin mo yon mindfully. Ano yung the best action plan for me as of the moment? And once we have proceeded, no, to mindful state, then we can be able to think of the practical action plans that we can do. And once we have these practical action plans, then we can regulate our emotions. Remember, we are responding to these triggers because we are not prepared. We are fearful of the unknown. Yeah. Some of us are excited, some of us are fearful, some of us are afraid or scared or sad, or even you're angry with the government. Yun. But those are a part of our humanity. So those are our triggers, trigger emotions. But these trigger emotions, no, are very raw. So we have to process it. We need to reach the mindful state in order for us to set what action plans can be done in order for me to manage my stress or to manage my anxiety. Yeah. Then, another technique that you can do for emotional regulation, part of stop rin, so is the another mindfulness activity. So, for example, you're very stressed no, dun sa situation, parang hindi na kayo makafocus. Try this. So, for example, what are the five things that you can see? So, you look around, notice five things, okay, that you hadn't noticed before. A pattern on a wall, like reflecting from a surface, or a knickknack in the corner of the room. What are the four things that you can feel? So five, then four things that you can feel. Maybe you can feel the pressure of your feet on the floor. So pakiramdaman nyo. Your shirt resting on your shoulders or temperature on your skin. You pick up an old object and then notice its texture. Yeah, so texture, notice it. Then what are the three things that you can hear? Notice all the background sounds. Yeah. You had been filtering out, such as the air conditioning, electric fan, birds chirping, or cars, or jeeps, no, distant street. Yeah. Then two things that you can smell. So smell the flowers kung meron, coffee, no, freshly cut grass kung may grass. It doesn't have to be nice smell either. Maybe there's an overflowing the trash can or sewer, or may dumaan na truck ng basura, so naamoy mo, o kaya naman may food na dumaan, no, ang mango. So, yon. So two things that you can smell. And then last is one thing that you can taste. So pop a piece of gum in your mouth, sip a drink, eat a snack if you have one, or simply notice how your mouth tastes. So taste the air to see how it feels on your tongue. So pwede rin, no? For you to be able to have that taste. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 rule. Yan. So pwede natin gawin in times that we feel that we are triggered. Yan. So the purpose of this is also to help us go back to our current state, to go back to our normal state. Ayan. Then the next is what we call the ABC, please. So ano yung ABC, please? So A, accumulate positive emotions by doing things that are pleasant. So anything that you think that are pleasant. So parang kanina, di ba, activities din. Yan. So sa activities, so anything that you think is valuable to you. Why do we need to do it? It's because we need to reach our state of flow. So, dinefine yan ng Csikszentmihalyi no, sa positive psychology na kung saan we are in the moment, we are in the zone. And once we are in the zone, our happy hormones are activated. And once our happy hormones are activated, it tend to uh, affect our body to have satisfaction, okay, happiness, yan, or pleasant emotions. Yeah. So yun yung A. So positive emotions, accumulate positive emotions. So even also gratitude exercises every day, no? So kahit nagkakaroon ECQ, pagising mo umaga, 5 things that you're thankful for. What are those? So it's more focused on stimulating your positive emotions. So kailangan natin mag-ipon. Although sabihin nyo, sir, yan na rin yung sinasabi last year pa eh, mag-ipon na mag-ipon nung paghuhugutan ng positive emotions. Pero kahit naman last year yon o year pa, kinakailangan regular ito. We need to fulfill our obligation to our emotional bank account. Yan. So, because the emotional bank account is our what? Is our way or means for us to manage our own affairs. So, if we are experiencing adversities, it's part of our humanity. It's part of our functioning. So, we need to fulfill our obligation. We need to deposit something to our emotional bank account, hence accumulate positive emotions. Then next is letter B. We have to build mastery by doing things we enjoy, so such as reading, cooking, cleaning, fixing appliances, yan, working a crossword puzzle, or playing a musical instrument. So practice these things to build master, no? And in time, we feel competent. Because once we feel that we are competent, no, we tend to have that uh, state that we can do something and that we are satisfied and that we are prepared on something. So that sense of preparedness can also affect how we manage our adversities and how we manage our triggers. So yung mga individuals na mas prepared daw, no, mas maraming ginagawa, nakaka-build ng mastery, mas mas positive yung kanilang response doon sa mga triggers. So maaring triggered sila pero hindi sobrang triggered as compared by the other with the others. So yun. So maaring triggered sila pero mabilis yung pag-bounce back nila as compared to others. So mas nagiging resilient sila as compared to others because they have that sense of satisfaction from the sense of mastery. And then last is about C, cope ahead by rehearsing a plan ahead of time so that you're prepared to cope skillfully. Remember I said a while ago that we are feeling this negative emotions or we are triggered because it's part of our humanity, number one, and also it's self-preservation. And since it's self-preservation, it's also a means to say that we have that fear of the unknown. So, and if we have that fear of the unknown, we have to prepare ourselves. So, rehearse a plan, set a plan on how we can prepare ourselves or prepare ourselves to cope with the situation. So, halimbawa, no, ang kinatatakot natin talaga ay paglabas, no? Baka mahawa tayo basta-basta. So, kailangan natin mag-rehearse. Paano ba tayo mamamasahe? Paano ba ako magdadrive ng sasakyan ko? Sino ba yung mga kasama ko? Paano ba yung exposure ko? Kailangan mong planuhin. Yon. Kung pupunta ka ng supermarket, kailangan talaga planuhin. Yan. O kaya naman, kung ikaw ay natitrigger din dun sa mga requirements sa school, kailangan mo mag-plan ahead din. So, paano mo i-chunk yung mga requirements? Yun. Or kung kailangan mo na kausapin din yung mga professors mo, kung pwede mo ma-negotiate yung mga requirements. So, mga ganong bagay. So, you have to cope ahead. Rehearse a plan. So, just like what we are pointing out a while ago, no? Yung mga usual mindset about, it's been a year, so, supposed to be naka-develop na dapat ng coping mechanisms or it's been a year, no? Pero ganun pa rin yung mga reactions natin pag natitrigger tayo. But it's not that simple, no? We still need to rehearse, we still need to plan in order for us to manage our affairs. So yun yung cope ahead. So kaya ABC please. So always remind yourself, no, how you manage how to manage your emotions. So ABC please. Yeah. Okay. So what now? What can we do? Yeah. First is to practice the stress tolerance and emotional regulation activities or techniques. Devise your own strategies and techniques because I'm not saying that these should be followed strictly. No. What I'm saying is that after learning these things, you have to devise your own strategies. Then you consult your assigned counselor if symptoms persist, especially if you still continue to have anxiety, trigger, sobrang natitrigger pa rin kayo o kaya nagkakaroon kayo ng panic attacks. Yan. So, you have to monitor it within the week. Yan. And then consult your assigned counselor. Then, trust yourself, okay, that this is not an outcome. It's part of the process. So, this too shall pass and you'll be eventually achieving the goals that you've set for yourself, regardless if it's pandemic or not. And last but not the least is we have to focus ourselves on the situation and not what you think about it. Because our distress, comes from what we think about the situation and not the actual situation. So, with that, thank you very much for listening to my short talk, and I hope that you learned something, that you can use in order for you to manage your distress and to regulate your emotions. And here are some of the references that you can also read if you need more information with regard to the things that I've talked about. Okay? So thank you very much for listening.